Well, today is time for a zing through the zodiac. 2013 is the beginning of new star cycles and trends which are tracked by international astrologers like the witty, wise, and untamed Georgia Nicols. She joins us this hour to ponder and predict the future. If you want to know when you should buy real estate, whether or not the fiscal cliff is real, or if you will find love in 2013, the answers are floating around in your astrological chart. Stay with us to find out who is the boldest, bravest sign in the zodiac and who is all about sex, secrets, the police, and the world of spies. Could it be you Scorpios? It's good to be with you today and with the gregarious columnist, respected international astrologer Georgia Nicols, whose planetary skills are legendary. She is eerily accurate in her predictions and in figuring out what makes you tick. Her well-thumbed book is called You and Your Future, and she often sees the future in the past without a crystal ball.
Of course. I didn't bring my crystal ball today.
You didn't?
No.
Have you ever had one?
No, I haven't. But as a kid, I thought they were intriguing. And I think I've given, by the way, real crystal balls are a bit pricey. But the cheaper ones, I've given them to my kids. Because I think they're kind of fun, aren't they?
How did you get into this, astrology?
Well, you know, here's what I can harken back to. I grew up in a small town in Manitoba, and believe me, nobody was talking about astrology. No. Not at church, not at school, and certainly not my parents. But there it was in the newspapers, right? Mm-hmm. And when I had a crush on somebody, I'm 12 years old, I would lie on the floor in the living room and be poring over this and reading everybody I knew. But mostly I thought of it as a secret knowledge, or it was very esoteric, and I thought, what is this stuff? Nobody's talking about it. And I know that I got into it because I can think back now, and I remember people who I knew then, and I remember their signs. I knew the sign of a neighbor, sign of friends. So I was always into it. And then it's self-taught, because most places, only recently have they even got a school for it. It's in Seattle. So most astrologers are self-taught initially, and then you take a course wherever you can, if it appears.
What I find is even the skeptics still read
their horoscopes.
Their horoscopes, even though they say, I only take the good ones.
Yes,
or it's all bunk.
But if it's fun, I like it. But I'll tell you this, though. If you study astrology, you would not be a skeptic. Like, it is more of a science than people know. And all the early astrologers were mathematicians, the big guys. Okay,
right.
And so if you actually study it, then there is no question that there's a lot of validity to it. There's a lot of things you could be saying about somebody, and that how else could you know, or about an event. How else would you know?
And right? The math part?
It is all based on math. It's all based on math. And another thing here's two reasons why I think people debunk it. They think that I believe the planets affect us. I don't believe that at all. How could they affect us? That'd be ridiculous, right? It's just a language. It's a language, right? And then the only two things that affect us actually are the sun and the moon.
Really?
The sun obviously affects us, because if the sun is out, everybody's up and out, and school's on, and and the sun is gone, then society changes, right? They generally go to bed. And then the moon obviously affects us too, because it shows up. The moon shows up on emergency wards and police reports and that. There's no question of that either.
The new moon, the full moon.
Mostly the full moon, but as a matter of fact, the new moon is almost as strong as the full moon.
Why?
Well, because the full moon is an opposition and the new moon is a concentrated. The new moon means the sun and the moon are in the same sign, and the full moon means the sun and the moon are opposite.
I read you daily, as you know. And today it says, I cannot go shopping, nor can I make important decisions, nor can anyone else in the zodiac, not just us Libras.
But it can be a fun day. Okay, what that is it's called, and I don't use the term in the columns, but it's called when the moon is void of course. And what it means is every 2.5 days, the moon changes signs. And just before it's changing signs, it suddenly is not making any major mathematical aspect to anything. So now, remember I said it's all math? So there's nothing, it's sort of loosey-goosey. And so it means that whatever you initiate then will not fulfill its purpose, or it tends not to fulfill its purpose. So if you buy a pair of shoes, why are you buying them? You intend to wear them, right? So you might wear them once or twice, and then you don't wear them again.
I see. When you have a chart done, how do you use it in your daily life?
How would I use it myself?
Yes, how do you use yours, being the expert and all?
Well, I can think of something that I just did even this week. Let's say if somebody asked me to speak at an
tell me.
event, at an event, I would make sure I pick a good day that everybody's happy and they want to hear somebody speak. It's good to know how to throw a party or whatever, but here's a bigger deal, and I mentioned this in my book. I could see, and this was about 8 years ago, I saw a time where I knew that I was going to have to move. It just was there in my chart. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, okay, I'm renting out at UBC. And all the years I rented, and I was out there for years, over a decade, everybody was saying, oh, the landlord's going to sell, he's going to sell, right? But when I looked at my chart, I thought, I'm moving. So I always did have some land, so I built my home on this land, on an island, right? And sure enough, he did sell. And just when everybody was frantic and looking to move into new rentals, I moved into my new house.
So, the Mayan calendar, the world was supposed to end, or something was supposed to end on the 21st of December. I believe that was the date, 22nd, 21st, somewhere in there.
It was just
something ended, but I don't know what.
It was just an epoch. There are 3 Mayan calendars, and the long calendar is the one that goes in 400-year gaps, and this was just the ending of one of those. It was no big deal, obviously, right? I mean, it came and went.
Right, yes. When I'm thinking something ended, but we don't know what yet.
No, I don't think it was. I was never worried about it ahead of time. The only thing I kind of fell for is I did think the bank machines were not going to work in YK2. I was nervous of that. Were you?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought, not that I had a lot of money to get out anyhow.
Now, is there a particular sign, a sun sign, that is the money maker?
Yes.
If you're born
Taurus.
Ah.
They're the bankers. They're the bankers, and they like money too. They like to wrap themselves in cash.
I see. And the leaders of the world, the presidents, the prime ministers, the political leaders.
Capricorns can do that, but even Aquarians can. Many signs, and Leos, of course, and Aries. Many signs can be a leader. Some are more traditionally associated with, but Aries, for example, is the grassroots leader, so it's more like your sergeant major, right? Right there with you. Leo is the king, right? Capricorn is the top of the line and the CEO, more that type, the blue pinstripe suit.
Right.
Aquarius, there's been quite a few Aquarian presidents, and Obama's an Aquarius rising. But,
you had that right.
Yes, both times.
Yes, that election right.
Right. The reason is, the first time why I easily wrote that he was going to be elected is, the first time when he was elected, I saw a cycle repeating that the last time it happened was during the American Revolution. And the next time was virtually the month of the election. So here we had the American Revolution in whatever it was, in the 1760s, 76. And then now we had a choice of McCain or Obama. So obviously we could see which was the revolutionary choice, right?
Right.
And more recently, why I knew he would get in is just looking at Obama's chart. Because in Obama's chart, it shows that in 2015, 16, 17, he is his most powerful. So now that's all I did know. So it didn't mean he was going to be elected. But what could be, if he is more powerful than he is as president, you couldn't be.
And you looked at Romney's chart too, I'm
did.
sure, because the Washington Post called you.
Yes, I was very flattered. Thank you.
I bet.
And I did say that he would kick ass in 2015. And what I think privately is there will be a by-election and that he will get the House.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It only makes sense.
Of course it does. Now, 2013, the year.
Right. Okay.
Good year, bad year, prolific year.
Here's what's happening, and this is quite a significant year. It is the beginning, actually it started about 2 months into last year. Saturn has returned to Scorpio. Saturn was last in Scorpio from 1983 to 1985. Saturn is a sign associated with death, and Scorpio is the sign associated with death. So now we bring these two together, right? For example, the last time, and Scorpio also rules the genitals, every sign rules some part, AIDS was discovered when Saturn was last in Scorpio, right? Now I see this is when the baby boomers are all going to start dying. And so what we're doing is coming into a time where we are going to be more aware of death, more aware of our own mortality, more aware of loved ones dying, more aware of well, people all around us dying or facing your own death. Because the most people, did you ever read Boom Bust Echo?
Yes.
Right. Remember it said that the most people born in Canada was 1961, the least 1937. So 1961, that's the peak at the end, right? So those people are in their early 50s. So the heap of the boomers are in their 60s now, right?
Sure. And many people can't talk about death.
Right.
Last taboo is to talk about death. Some people have made total peace with death, no matter what their age.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That is amazing.
But really, what's
I'll
going
go
to happen?
kicking and screaming. I have a feeling.
Well, the most people who have ever died in this country are going to start to die. That's what it is. And in the United States, New Zealand, Australia, the 4 countries with the baby boom. So the most
Really?
people who have ever died. So death is going to be a very big business.
Oh, well, on that happy note.
And I just wanted to say, it's the me generation. That means they all have Pluto and Leo. From the early 40s until mid-50s, they have Pluto and Leo. So they are going to go kicking and screaming. Tick, or what is it, nip, tuck, Botox,
Right.
everything. They're fighting it. Not going gracefully.
Okay, not going gracefully into the night. Now, let's start. Aries.
Aries.
Why do we
Okay.
always start with Aries?
Well, it is the first sign of the zodiac. It's virtually like number 1, and beginning at this equinox, and every newspaper prints it that way as well. And so we just, if you don't start with Aries, and we started somewhere else, then they'll come along and go, oh, where's my sign? Or, you know,
see.
it can throw them off. I've been on programs where they want to start somewhere else, or a radio show. He wants to start with his own sign. And I always think, oh, God. I
No,
hope
don't do that.
Yeah.
So March 21st to April 19th, you're in Aries.
Okay, the Aries, okay, good news and bad news. The bad news is Aries have been having difficulties with partnerships for the last couple of years. Some of them have been splitting up, getting a divorce, stuff like that. And therefore, what they're heading into is a couple of year window here where they are going to have diminished resources from others. Their support from others could be either cut off completely or diminished. So that's kind of scary. But I want to tell Aries that this is really boot camp training for them because their career peak is 2018 and 19. So they really are actually on a roll. So this is sort of a tough up, you know, they're going to get stronger. And meanwhile, they're very optimistic anyhow. I see that because Jupiter is making them very optimistic and very busy.
Aries a fire sign?
Yes, they are, fire signs.
Which means?
Very mobile. The fire signs are sort of, I see something that's falling here, and this is just my secret little microphone. I think I'm going to sit on it.
You're sitting on your microphone?
I am. I hope it's still working.
Good. Yes, me too.
I mean, it's bottom news, eh? Yes. So I think that's about it for Aries.
I was reading in the paper, and it said beside Aries, I'm getting stronger, my home life is improving.
That's true. Later in the year, Aries will be.
Okay, so the Taurus, the bull.
They are the money guys. And they're going to be happy because now, for the first time in 12 years, Jupiter is in their house of money. So Tauruses are making more money this year. They're making more money and feeling happy about it, but it's a very significant year for Taurus. It's a bookend from 1999. 1999 was the beginning of them reinventing themselves, and now 2013 is the flip, and they are entering into a phase where they're going to find challenges with partnerships.
I see.
Challenges.
Challenges. Now, when you say Taurus, does that mean just the sun sign? Like, what if your moon is someplace and something else is rising and all of that?
Good.
So how much stock can you put in, I'm a Taurus?
Okay, it definitely applies. What I'm saying, okay, that's a really good question. Horoscopes are predictive. So horoscopes only apply to your sun sign, so if a person is a Taurus, and they also apply to your rising sign. But they don't apply to, let's say, if you have Venus in Taurus, Mars in Taurus. It doesn't apply to that, but you should know what you have because those make up your character. So in other words, you can learn astrology to find out more about who you are, and then secondly, about your future. And that is why I call the book You and Your Future. So that you can learn, you should read all your signs to find out who you are, but when you want to know about your future, you only read your sun sign and your rising sign.
Okay. Well, my book is well thumbed.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
I'm telling you. Georgia Nicols, our guest, will return. More fun and futuristic information. She's a syndicated astrologer and very insightful.